Hello, everybody. So, been a while, but I'm doing this kind of a side thing, so I'm not worried about that. Um, both of the videos got about 100 views, and I know that some of those were just vexed fanboys just looking at the analytics and the fact that almost all of the dislikes came within a couple minutes of opening the video, meaning you weren't actually listening to what I had to say. Um, but still, my arguments are being made. I don't care about any of that. I said this would be the next video, and it is. Now, this is another one that I think I might agree with him some on. I'm still doing this game that I'm playing where I actually try to see if I can agree with this asshole. Even though I caught him literally lying. Um, which, funnily enough, that video has no comments, but the same amount of dislikes as the first one. So I'm gonna guess there's 4 fanboys. Hi. Either way. Oh well, not my problem. But let's see what he thinks here. If this video ends up being really short, I'll just make another one.
To Miles and Carrie's credit, they've both pretty much admitted that they're learning on the job when it comes to this whole writing thing. And that's fine, but what confuses me is when they say things like this.
One of the scariest things for us with Volume 4 was the fact that our girls are separated. We essentially have 4 separate storylines that we have to jump back and forth between, Game of Thrones style.
Jumping back and forth Game of Thrones style. Wow, that's an interesting choice. It'd be like me waking up tomorrow and saying, you know what? I want to learn how to paint. I think I'll recreate the Mona Lisa. Chances are it's not gonna work. Case in point, the last 2 volumes of Ruby.
So, I'm just gonna... Vex, do you understand what the idea of, like, a metaphor is, or a simile, or an analogy, or any of these things? He's not saying he's writing on the level of Game of Thrones. That is not the point. You know that's not the point. You just want to be facetious and insult him. He is saying that bouncing back and forth in this style, which is a Game of Thrones style, as opposed to a more focused narrative style like, I don't know, Aragon, I guess, to be a good example, because I don't think that bounces around very much. It's been 10 years since I read any of those, but still. His point is that bouncing around like that is a challenge, because you have to design all this stuff at once.
I mean, they jump from storyline to storyline with almost no regard for the viewer. Consider Volume 5, Chapter 9. We spent an agonizing 9 minutes with Watts, Vernal, Raven, Emerald, and Mercury at the bandit camp with Cinder.
I need time to think this over.
Then we jump to Menagerie for...
I thought, okay, for me personally, and I know a lot of people are the same way with this, the Watts and Cinder and all of them at the bandit camp is one of a lot of people's favorite moments from that volume. It's one of my favorite moments because of the little details, like Raven isn't the maiden, or Raven is the maiden, excuse me, Vernal isn't the maiden, but they're pretending that she is. So Raven has her mask on, which, weirdly enough, we haven't seen her wearing her mask very much for these volumes where she's been present. But if you look, you can see Raven stiffening and curling her fist. If I wanted to, I could look up the video to show you. Actually, hang on. Yeah, see, look, she's wearing her mask. Here in a minute, Vernal joins her. She curls her fist to use the thing. People liked that because of the details there. And I'm just
for a fight with all of Blake's characters in her arc.
Hurry!
Mid-fight, we jump back over to Raven and Vernal at the bandit camp.
Anything else?
Then we jump to Mistral for 20 fucking seconds.
Oz needs to talk to you.
Then we jump back to...
Osmond didn't take over just to say what he has to say because he's not a dick. I mean, he's a dick, but he's not totally an asshole. He's trying to be considerate to Oscar, and I think sharing time and let Oscar do it. Also, bouncing around like that again is in this style. It's fine. I don't understand. You're not criticizing any of it.
To Menagerie, just to end on a cliffhanger. What a absolute mess of a chapter. If you are admittedly learning on the job, you should be trying to make things easier for yourself. Simplify things, condense the story. You can do that with the cast and with the locale. How? Well, for one, entire chapters need to take place in one location. Now that Team Ruby is back together, that should be a simple fix. Now let's talk about this cast of characters.
I do agree with that, but the issue in this situation, which you are ignoring per form really, is that due to the writing designs already made, the girls were separated in Volume 3. Now, I don't remember if Vexed is one of the they've diverged from Monty's path people or not, and I'm not going to even paint him with that brush until I know for sure if he is. But that would literally be diverging from Monty's path. He split the girls up. That was the plan. That was what was written for that. And from what I could tell, they were trying to roughly keep the chronology together. There's a bit of a skip with Blake at the end getting to Mistral so fast. But still, it's how they decided to do it. I'd like to lean in real quickly and ask, if Vexed is such an expert about balancing episodes, character arcs, and chapter lengths, maybe he should make a show. And I'm gonna lean back. And before anyone says anything to me, I am making a show. So I am walking the walk there. Just so we know.
There's too many. Too many for them to handle, if I'm being completely honest. Instead of worrying about
I agree with that, and so does Kruby, actually. They've acknowledged this mistake, like, post-talk. So I'm not gonna, beat up Vexed for that.
bringing in new characters, they should be focusing on trimming down the cast for Volume 6. Just hear me out here. At the end of Volume 5, we are led to believe that our heroes are now heading toward Atlas.
We must get the lamp to Atlas.
We spent all that time walking to Mistral, and after one volume, we're already leaving. I'm not even going to touch that right now. Here are all the characters that were even remotely important in the last 2 volumes.
The irony here is that they don't actually end up leaving Mistral, the kingdom, continentally, in Volume 6. This is another don't assume things before they happen advisory, because that's what they're doing. Now, let's go through these characters. Hang on, I want to hear his point first, actually.
Now, let's get rid of the characters that are either dead or already in Atlas.
Okay, I was just familiarizing myself with who he was removing.
Now, let's get rid of the characters that are either dead or already in Atlas. Okay, so who's heading north? First things first. Sorry, Shermie, but Ilya's got no business going to Atlas. She doesn't know jack shit about the relics. She owes it to Gira. She needs to stay back and help him lead the White Fang. So,
Funnily, that ends up happening. That ends up being precisely what happens.
she stays along with Milf's cat. Hey son, guess what? You're not going anywhere. You need to stay back and help the Belladonna.
I don't like the sound effect that he's doing in the denied things. I'm wearing a headset because my microphone was too sensitive before, and it's vibrating in my ears and it's uncomfortable.
Too. And maybe learn a little bit about the history of your people, because it's clear that Shade Academy is the worst school in all of Remnant.
So they gave us a terrible island in the corner of Remnant to try and shut us up.
Clearly, this was him conversing with Blake. This is another one of those this isn't even a point thing. I think that was kind of, I'm gonna say scratchy writing, I'm not gonna say sloppy, because they were using Sun as an audience surrogate to make the point, when I think there could have been more elegant ways of doing that.
Besides, you have your own team. Now, it's time to trigger some people.
Here we go.
Hey Thora, guess what? You're not going to Atlas. That's right, I said it. Both you and Ren are staying. Can we be honest about something? Now that Team Ruby is back, there's nothing for them to do.
The comedy of this statement is made even funnier having watched Volume 7. And Volume 6, actually. Volume 6 is another good one. These are both... That's... I can't even.
We're not in school anymore, and they're not really needed. After reflecting on what happened to his hometown, Rin will go back and help the people of Shion or something. And Nora will tag along. Honestly, I don't...
What people? The village was deserted and destroyed. There's no one to help. Everyone died or scattered when he was like 7. Who is he going to help? And which of them are going to listen to him? And don't worry, we're going to go back to the people who are dead or in Atlas already. If he doesn't explain why we removed them.
I don't really care why they stay in Anima, just make them stay. Hey John, guess what? You're not going to Atlas.
I despise this sound effect. It is vibrating in my ear and it's painful. Vexed has like thousands of subscribers. 200,000 I think, actually. Hang on. 20,000, excuse me. I keep thinking that dot isn't there. He should understand this editing thing. And I'm going to cut this number into a quarter and say it 4,000 when he did this, or 5,000 when he did this. He still should have known better than to use this sound effect. Oh my fucking Christ.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you have 7 sisters? Don't you think it's time you go visit them? Go show them how strong you've become. Goodbye.
This is another one. Having seen Volume 6, it's really funny. Because he does go visit one of his sisters.
Now, does this mean we won't see these characters at all in Volume 6? Not necessarily. You can invest one chapter to the characters who are not going, but every other chapter should be all about where Team Ruby is located. No more jumping around from storyline to storyline. Okay, let's speed through the rest of this.
This is actually valid criticism, and I hate to acknowledge it coming from him, but it is criticism that they do integrate, because they jump around a lot less in Volume 6 and 7. They still jump around, but they do it a lot less. That has come at the side effect of, like, less character interactions. What the fuck? But they did actually take this into account.
Salem ain't going nowhere. Raven, we got enough of your nonsense in the last volume. I don't give a shit about Hazel anymore. Adam, no. Emerald, no. Mercury, no. Cinder,
Hello, boys and girls.
hell no.
I love that he's just saying the word no, but there's no argument. There's nothing here. He's just saying no, 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 no. He's not actually explaining why. Why, though? Like, at least with Ren and Jean, he gave a reason, one of which was ironic, and the other one didn't make sense, but he tried. And I'm still waiting for him to get back to the people from Atlas and who are already dead. Because some of them...
Tyrion or Watts? Pick one. I don't need both.
Imagine watching Volume 7 and saying that sentence. I guarantee you. Yeah.
I think it makes more sense for Watts to go, so I'll go with him. Boom. Here are the characters that will be making the trip to Atlas. Now let's bring back in the folks that are already there.
Oh, finally.
Guys, I don't mind seeing Klein and Whitley in Volume 6, but I don't need to hear from them. They're out of here.
How dare you? All 7 of the Kleins are angry with you now.
Okay, so we've cut out the fluff for Volume 6. This reduction should really help them keep a tight script and allow them to focus on character moments. Hopefully, it also leads to less nonsensical fights. Okay, before...
If they didn't do that, and the fights in Volume 6 and 7 are, like, a cut above anything from before up back into the Monty era. Like, up unto it. I think Monty was limited more by, like, the rendering software that they had. Like, holy shit, the software that they have now is so much better.
Before we go any further, I gotta talk about Winter.
Uh-oh.
Winter has got to show up in Volume 6. I really like what we've gotten from her. She hasn't been ruined. I like her relationship with Weiss. I like Elizabeth Maxwell.
One trick that I use.
So I'm going to assume that by ruined he means has a character that has been established and isn't his headcanon. I'm just gonna put that there, and we're gonna circle back to that prediction later.
Is I come up with a phrase or a small monologue that typifies the character for me, like their mindset.
Please, Miles and Carrie, take your time and don't waste this character's potential. She could really be good. Now, I'm not foolish enough to think that Miles and Carrie aren't going to introduce new characters in Volume 6. We'll probably get the Winter Maiden. Hey, it may even be cool to see Penny's creator, as long as it makes sense. Any additional minor characters need to maintain a low profile. Focus on Team Ruby and the characters you already have. There is a lot of work that needs to be done with Ruby Rose and Oscar in particular. Bottom line, each character needs something to do. It needs to be interesting to a certain degree. You don't want bland and boring characters hogging the spotlight. Cut.
Who in their right mind thinks Leonardo Lionheart is bland and boring? It was actually very interesting to me, and many others I know for fact. Have the Wizard of Oz analogy confirmed, because that gave us a lot of predictions on Ironwood's story based on Lionheart. It also gives us some predictability for Crow, because the Scarecrow, Tin Man, Cowardly Lion. Interestingly, the Cowardly Lion never got his courage back, so I'm curious what that means for the Tin Man and the Scarecrow. Because in Volume 7, things happened.
Cut down the cast, stick to one story arc, and make us care. That's how I feel, at least. Maybe I'm off my hinges. What do you guys think? Am I wrong? Do we need even more characters? Did I pick the wrong ones to leave out? Is leaving out Nora blasphemy?
Now, see, the fun thing here, just going to end the video there. I don't care about any of this. The irony here is, he's half right. They need to not add as many characters, and they didn't. They kept their focus on their cast. However, they didn't remove all of them. They got better at the balance. They got better at the bouncing. They got better at the development. But they didn't need to cut anyone. And yeah, that's really it. They actually improved on things rather than trying to just really cheat, because that's what it feels like he's saying that they should do, is cheat. Like, ignore what they're doing, ignore all the story up until now, and just cheat to make it easy. Nah, I wouldn't have liked that. Many people wouldn't have either. But I'm going to call that on this one. I don't think this recording ended up as long as I thought it was going to be. Like, comment, subscribe. The 4 fanboys that I think are just going to show up can go ahead and dislike. I expect it. And have fun.